Faith Fiction and Folklore, or the Try It podcast, where we try not to F things up. And tonight we've got Gary. How are you?
I am all right. I'm glad that we're about done.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
And we're going to go back over basically what was this, be 2 or 3?
This will be part 2 of the Highgate.
Part
I guess technically
2
part 3.
of
I
the-
talked about it once several weeks back, but this is really part 2.
Part 2
Going a
of
little
the
more in
Highgate
depth.
Vampire. We're going to compare and contrast David Farrant with
Sean
Other guy.
Manchester.
Sean Manchester. So let's get into this.
All right, let us get into it. All right, here we go. Oh, that's loud. Why is everything always so loud?
Because we like it like that.
I guess. I should have checked this before. How long is this intro?
I like
Oh.
intros. Dracula.
Oh my goodness. It's a picture of Dracula. What are we going to do?
Dracula, blah, blah, blah.
Bleh.
I am David Farrant,
I don't go blah, blah, blah.
and over 20 years ago, I began an investigation into what was one of the most chilling accounts of vampirism in the 20th century, the case of the Highgate vampire.
Apologies for the bad audio. I didn't remember so much background noise. Apparently this thing had production too, but a while back.
Events really began at Highgate Cemetery in the late 1969. Local reports circulating about a tall,
Oh,
dark
there it
figure
goes. Man, that
that
took a
had been
while.
seen in and around Highgate Cemetery.
Trevor?
Invariably
Yeah, okay, I'm still good. All right.
took
Yeah.
the shape
Do you want me to listen?
of a tall
Make
figure.
sure you're still good.
and no
Yeah, you
witness
can.
described it
My
as wearing
stuff says I'm good, so I think I'm all right.
Apart from this, many people remarked on its eyes. One old lady that I interviewed personally in 1969, for example, was walking her dog up Swains Lane late at night.
Yeah, you sound good.
And
Great.
Suddenly, when she reached the main gate, the dog suddenly stopped and refused to go any further. It whined and it turned around and it tried to retreat. At this moment, the old lady looked up, and just inside the main gate, she described a tall, dark figure with glaring red eyes, which seemed to be floating towards her. Obviously, she didn't stay much longer than that, and she quickly went back down Swains Lane with her dog. She also told me that the surrounding area had turned icy cold. Then again, there was the case of a 45-year-old accountant who I referred to as Thornton because he asked for his correct name to be withheld. And he had gone into Highgate Cemetery at around this time, really just to look around. It was a late afternoon, and at that time, Highgate Cemetery was open to the public. Unfortunately, perhaps for Thornton, he became hopelessly lost, and he couldn't find
The bell actually made me
his way
jump a
back
little.
to the main
Oh, did
path.
it?
He was quite
Well, it's that ominous music that makes it like all creepy and stuff, so adds a ambiance, I suppose.
I like it.
Yeah, he's basically recounting the same stuff that we heard last week. The old
Yeah.
lady and the count, like the shadow figure with the red eyes. So far, it's exactly the same.
Similar
So,
story.
Yeah, yeah.
quite near the large circle of tombs in the middle of the cemetery known as the Columbarium. And he heard the bell go And so he thought the best thing to do was just to make his way towards the sound of the bell at the main gate and find his way out that way. All of a sudden, Thornton became aware.
This is what I mean by him being a showman, though, too. Like, this is obviously produced and not very well. So they obviously did this for some kind of marketing, but I kind of just want to hear their voice and the way they talk and, like, study their mannerisms, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care for this production because you make it all pretty and stuff. You don't really know how reliable the person is or isn't. It's not a cold interview.
Yeah, it's almost like he's just kind of copying what the other guy said.
He might very well be. I don't know. I know these two were rivals after a certain point. Like, they started out working together, and then they kind of had a bad falling out. That's about all I know regarding the situation. So,
Oh.
yeah. So these are like opposing accounts in a sense, but so far they're pretty well the same.
So the question is, which one is the ferret?
Which was a ferret? I would assume the guy that said whose name is Farrant.
There's something behind him. At this stage, he didn't know exactly what it was, but he had an overwhelming
Get a
sense
different story here.
that someone was watching
Finish
him.
this one first, though.
And again, he noticed that the temperature in the surrounding area had dropped quite considerably. He swung around, and he described a tall, dark figure, which was looking at him with intensity.
And I hate these artist renditions, too. I mean, that looks
I-
ridiculous.
I do like that one better than the other one, though.
Yeah, but the thing is, nobody described a skull. They all say shadow figure with red eyes. Nobody describes teeth. Nobody describes the skull. Nobody describes the Reaper-like garment. In fact, the only description I have heard of a shadowy figure is a guy with a top hat. So this isn't, strictly speaking, accurate from what I've seen from other videos. So
Interesting.
I don't really care for these artist renderings. So,
Maybe that's all they could come up with on AI.
yeah, in the 70s. Or whenever this was. It seems like it's from the 70s. Sounds like it's from the 70s, but anyway.
Well, I mean, they had that 70s show in the 70s.
Well, look at that collar. That collar screams 70s.
Yeah.
Good night. That's
Collar
worse than my...
screams ferret.
How does it scream ferret?
I don't know.
Yeah, man, that collar's worse than mine. Good grief.
We should do a collar podcast where we try and wear the highest collar.
Yeah, well, I would win. I mean, obviously, my shirts don't cooperate at all, so... Oh,
He
man.
told me that it was almost as if this figure was trying to hypnotize him. In any event, he seemed to be losing control of his normal faculties. At this point, without warning, the figure suddenly vanished.
Okay, so this is something I'm going to
Dun,
point
dun, dun.
out. Yeah, this figure suddenly vanished. Me and Cody were talking earlier when we are trying to kind of decipher body language and stuff. We're referring to Brandon Biggs and whether or not he's believable and all this. Well,
like
one of the key indicators... We've also talked about with Cash Patel and Bongino, too. Like,
Yeah.
one of the tells is look at the eyes. They're tilted upward. You notice Cash Patel had the same thing. Look how wide the
Yep.
eyes are. And then he licked his lips a moment ago. Those are all signs of anxiety. Now, anxiety by itself doesn't mean that the person is lying, and that's where people make the mistake. They assume, just because you can detect an emotion that you can infer the motive, but you can't. But it does mean he's nervous. Maybe he's just nervous because he's in front of a camera, but that's not from what I understand about this guy. From what I understand, this guy was a showman, so...
He should not be nervous
Yeah,
at this point.
he shouldn't be nervous. So there's a good chance this dude's lying. Or at least reciting what Manchester said.
Well, I mean, I've been in front of a camera for a while now, and I still get nervous.
Yeah, but you don't have your eyebrows tilted all the way up. I mean, look, that does that look like a man who's comfortable? That picture right there, that frozen frame?
It looks like he's sitting on something that want to be sitting on.
Yeah, he looks uncomfortable. Now, it could literally be just that. That's the thing. He could literally just be sitting on an uncomfortable stool. It doesn't necessarily mean he's lying, but, you've got anxiety here, so
Yeah.
it's just interesting, Not that I'm an expert in body language. It's, all very, just a one layman's opinion. Oh, there's lots of experts on YouTube. Yeah, you can go look up lots of
one of them.
Yeah, they're very informative. I have been subject to the subject of body language since a wee lad because my dad listened to all those business tapes, and they go through all these courses on body language ad nauseum in those tapes, and there's hours of it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and then I read a book on it once as well. But yeah, so
You book reader.
I guess technically I read a lot of books on it if you count those Nightingale Conant tapes, because those were technically books. Anyway, yeah, I'm nerding out. Bottom line is I'm not an expert, but I've had a layman's interest in it since a wee lad. So I find that telling of anxiety, but you can't tell what the anxiety is actually about. But
Maybe we should ask him.
yeah, I'm sure I don't even think he's still alive now. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh.
We can look it up, but anyway. Yeah, so
Moving on.
got to tell there. So anyway.
Thornton stumbled around in the cemetery, and eventually he found the main path.
Another little thing, just I don't know if you noticed, but he shook his head briefly, even though he was saying an affirmative statement. That's another indicator.
No.
Yeah, sometimes that's an indicator of a lie. So anyway.
Yep. And sorry, my phone keeps going. This is too much work for me.
Phone's upset. I gotcha.
I'm on hotspot, so it's like
Okay. What do you do? Where are you at right now? You at home?
No. My wife's best friend here in Arkansas had a birthday party.
Oh, gotcha.
And so I was like, well, I'll just jump on the chat after dinner and we'll call it good. And I was like, well, I need a spot. And anyways, I didn't realize dinner was not going to be until like 9:30.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
Well, dude was like, I'm going to grill. And then he went to grab his charcoal and empty charcoal. So we had to run and get charcoal. And then we had to run and do a beer run. And then we had to do this. And it was almost 9:30 before we even got started eating. So,
You had a long day then.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you being here. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
He never returned. These were just two cases of people who had actually witnessed the Highgate vampire firsthand, and interestingly enough, both described the figure's eyes. They were hypnotic, and it's almost as if the figure was actually trying to cause harm to the people that it confronted.
I know why he's raising his eyebrows.
What?
I know why he's raising his eyebrows.
Why is that?
He's trying to sell a story.
You think so?
Yeah, some people will do that when they're trying to sell you a story. You know, they're telling it very dramatically.
They're trying.
Throw their eyebrows up.
Yeah, like they're trying to look earnest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. So, yeah, but we've had those little... Like, that's really... Okay, again, not an expert, but from what I understand, what you're looking for in a lie specifically is that incontinuity. Like, so you've got the eye... Like, because I'm indicating the eyebrows up thing is, like, anxiety. But I do think you're right, though, because if you looked, he did the hand thing, he's leaning forward doing this, but he's still shaking his head. You know what I mean? So that kind of incongruity, that's the theory anyway, when you have those inconsistent body language signs taken together. But again, you also have to bear in mind, this is the interesting thing about it, is like you have to actually like watch the person in another context. Like you can't just see one video of them and assume that they're lying. That's the other thing. Like you have to have other footage of the guy to compare it with, which is why it's very obvious Cash and Dan are flipping line, because we have lots of footage of them and we know what they're like when they're telling the truth. And so when you see them with one type of body language and then a completely different type of body language, that's how you know. It's the contrast that clues you to what they're doing. If you don't know the person, you can't really read it.
Yeah, and as far as Cash and Don, that one guy that goes through and actually looks at their body language on YouTube, he does a whole show on it. And before they start talking about Epstein, they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as they start talking about Epstein, they start having issues.
Yep.
Like the moment she asks that question.
Yep. They are clearly lying, and we are not going to let it go. Still waiting on that tape, Dan. Anyway.
Truth will set you free.
Thing with many unexplained phenomena, because they don't usually try and harm their human counterparts. Not so with the case of the Highgate vampire. Well, naturally, I became intrigued by all these reports, and there were others. There were others too. And I decided to visit the cemetery one night. My main intention being to look around, to try and find some logical explanation for what had been seen. I didn't really know what I was looking for. I suspected it could have been maybe a large animal which descriptions had distorted. I even suspected that it could...
Can I point this out? To be fair, I don't know why I suddenly felt this, but this is just an intuition that ran through my gut a second ago.
There's someone behind you.
No. He suddenly became much more earnest. He became much more believable. Did you see that turn? Did you notice that shift?
Yeah.
Like, it was like when he said, so I naturally became interested. That's when it shifted. I don't know why. I just
Because
kind of...
now he's going over account that he actually was there.
Ah.
So he showed his actual person.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Okay, well.
Been some very human person dressed up with the intention of frightening people. Whatever. It was around midnight, late in 69.
Right.
And as I passed the top gate of Highgate Cemetery, I became aware. I caught sight of something out of the corner.
Now notice this. I don't know why I'm talking. I know nothing. I'm like not an expert on body language. I don't know why I'm bothering to talk about this tonight, but I guess I'm going to.
Because we want to.
Yeah, because we want to, and I don't know how else to measure whether or not this guy's lying. Notice how his eyebrows dropped. See how his whole face has changed?
Yeah, he's changed. He's
leaning
not trying
forward.
to convince us anymore.
Yeah, he's leaning forward. There's color, like his chin is down, which means the light's changed. Yeah, so, and his eyes just got a lot smaller. Like he lowered his eyebrows. You see that? I just find that fascinating. I mean, I don't know if I'm right or not, but I just find that fascinating that his whole expression just changed right there.
Yeah, he relaxed.
Mm-hmm. He did. He relaxed.
Crazy.
My eye. And I looked up, or rather I looked around, and I saw a tall figure. It must have been about 7 feet tall.
See, now we got back to the line body. And the eyebrows are up again.
Why would he lie about someone being 7 feet? There's people that are 7 feet all the time.
I don't know. He may not be lying. I mean, we're just going off the body language thing here, and I'm saying those are indications of anxiety. Not, I mean, decide for yourself what it means. But yeah, it changed again. Although his eyes are still down, but his eyebrows are back up. So I don't know.
I couldn't tell, but it's almost as if it was floating just above the ground. But I distinctly saw its face. Or rather, I saw two
That's your face, dude.
points of intense red light, which I took to be its eyes. At first,
Okay.
it was so real that at first I thought it was somebody dressed up as a vampire. But the area turned icy cold.
Now, see, he, again, that's why I don't like the illustration, because what did he say? I felt like it was, assuming he's telling the truth, he said, I felt like it was somebody dressed up like a vampire. So it couldn't have been a ghoul reaper thing. Had to be like a dude, but the dude had like no feet or something. Because what would make you think someone's dressed like a vampire? A suit, maybe a cape, something like that. You know, like if you're looking at the cartoon cliche 70s version.
He probably went blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Sorry.
It was almost as if
We watched
into
Adam Sandler's cartoon movie, The Vampire, where Adam Sandler's the vampire and he's got all his buddies as... Oh, what's that movie called? Dadgummit.
Hotel Transylvania?
That one.
Yeah.
He's like, I do not go blah, blah, blah. So that's stuck in my head, I'm sorry.
That's funny.
refrigerator. More important still, the figure, or whatever it was, seemed to be draining me of energy. I too seemed to be losing control of my normal faculties. The best way I can describe it is if I was living a vivid dream and I wanted to wake up but I could not. Realizing I was under intense psychic attack, I mentally repeated a Kabbalistic incantation which is used to repel potent evil forces. And just as suddenly as it
Cody.
disappeared, the figure
What's
was
that?
no longer there.
Cody's got some comments. He says, "Was he on meth at the time by chance? He looks like more of a DMT guy, but he probably did some meth before this. LOL." I don't know, man. It keeps going back and forth. Like it's like he believes parts of it, and then there's other parts where he like backs off and goes, I don't know, you know. So yeah, it's just kind of, I don't know. I feel like it was just weird. Yeah, I don't know. It's like when he said, realized that I was probably under psychic attack. Like he leans forward when he says that line, and then he like leans back, and his eyebrows go up as he goes, I recited this, I think he said Kabbalistic incantation. I don't know. It's like the first part was he believed, and the second part he didn't. Bottom line is, I can't tell if the dude's lying or not. He's giving signals for both. What do you think, Trevor?
I agree with you. He's got anxiety and then he's fine. And I think part of it is true. He was actually walking by that area, and because he already had it in his head, he might have been suffering from that one long word. What's it called? Where you project what you're thinking, and so you see it.
He
What's that
hallucinated?
called? No, not hallucination. There's a word for it. It's kind of like hallucinating, but it's a different word.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be that he was on something, maybe, and saw something he's not sure is real. That might explain it.
Well, like if you're laying in bed and you have already been, like, maybe you saw a scary movie or something, so your thoughts project whatever that scary movie was. Let's say you watched Tremors. Okay, you got the worms that bust out of the ground, and you got a pile of laundry sitting in the back of your room.
Yeah.
And then, so your mind projects that.
It's kind of like matrixing, where you think you see a face when you don't see a face. Cody's saying schizophrenia. So, there's that.
Well,
There's always schizophrenia.
I'm schizophrenic sometimes.
We had a whole episode on that. You should have been there for it. On SSRIs anyway. So, yeah.
I missed it.
You did.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. No big.
It was after my sighting of the figure that I decided that the reports were indeed true. And we decided, that is, members of the British Psychic and Occult Society, decided to launch a full-scale investigation to try and find out what the phenomena was.
Honestly, in my opinion, looking at him, it looks like he's almost reading something, like a teleprompter almost.
That could be it, because there are a lot of weird pauses that don't make any sense. It's like he's trying to figure out the words. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
That would make the most sense. That's why I don't like this highly produced stuff. I wish I had found a better one. Maybe there is one out there, but... Oh, we got an interesting comment here. Let's read this really quick. 19 years ago, my friends and I decided that we were going to hunt the Highgate vampire over the course of a week. The first night, we jumped the fence and had a wonder. We were walking through an area full of overgrown brambles where we came face to face with this is a long one, with a statue of the Virgin Mary holding a fresh red rose. Half the group decided that was enough, and we started to make our way back. All of a sudden, we heard screaming all around us, coming from every direction, and we all ran as fast as we could and left. The second night, only half of us came out. This time, we were heading into the west side. This time, we were surrounded by cats. Whatever way we went to walk, cats would block our path and do figure of 8 motions around our legs. A couple more people lost their nerve and decided to head back, which was the only way the cats weren't blocking. The third night was just myself and one other friend. Again, we hopped the fence and went deeper than we had been before. Both of us felt like we were being watched, and we both felt like we could hear growling coming from the bushes as we walked along. My friend screamed and yelled at me to run, and by the look of his face, I knew he wasn't messing around. We left the graveyard, and he told me what he saw. 2 red glowing eyes in the bush about a foot above me. I don't know if he was telling the truth, but that was the last time we went hunting for the vampire. Dun, dun, dun. Indeed. And Cody says...
I would watch that.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's that.
What did Cody say?
Cody says, we're all a little schizo sometimes. Just got to accept it and grow from it each time. And there you go. Well, I don't know if that is a true story or not, Trevor, but I find Sean Manchester a little more believable than this fella, but that's just me. It's hard to tell, again, because the production value kind of ruins how accurate you can actually read what the dude's saying.
Yeah.
And Cody was like, bro, that was a crazy story. Indeed it was.
Thank you.
Yeah. So... if you are interested in learning more about the Highgate Vampire or just watching the entire interview, the interview is David Farrant in search of the Highgate Vampire. It is on David Farrant's YouTube channel. It was posted 13 years ago. This person says David Farrant passed away this month. So this would have been a month or 6 years ago.
6 years ago?
Yeah, this month. He was in his 70s. Rest in peace. And there you go.
Rest in peace.
Well, guys... I think that's going to cover it for this evening. And Trevor, do you have any final thoughts, sir?
Did we do our whole 30 minutes?
We are 25 minutes in, I think.
That's close enough.
Close enough? Yeah, I think so, too. I think we've given the general idea, and I'm sure he's got more things that people would like to see in the future. So,
probably.
All right. If you want us to continue looking into this story, let us know in the comments. And please subscribe if you are so inclined, because we're just at the 100 subscriber mark, and we'd like to keep going. We'd hate to stall out here.
Heck yeah.
So
We'll probably do a celebratory episode at one point.
yeah, we'll do a celebratory episode at one point, and on to 1,000, however long that takes.
No. 200.
200. Oh,
Keep
baby
it
steps.
simple.
Baby steps. Okay.
Baby steps.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching,
Thank you.
and we'll see you next time.
Peace. Deuces.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.